Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod's IAS classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to discuss current affairs of 20th July 2021. So let's get started with our discussion and let us see first topic. So before saying this, we are going to discuss about 7 topics which are very much relevant to UPSC. So there are again 2 editorials which are left. So this is your homework. So which are the editorials you need to refer, I am going to tell at last of this video. Okay. So now let us see first topic. Title says Rahul Prashant Kishore ex-EC Lavasa on list of spyware targets. So this article mainly talk about this Pegasus again. So from last 4 days onwards we are discussing about this Pegasus spyware. So this article mainly talking about some more important and interesting details regarding this Pegasus. So this topic will be important regarding GS paper 3 under security. So let's get started with our discussion and let us see about this Pegasus. So if you see context, it mainly says that former Congress President Rahul Gandhi and election commissioner that is Ashok Lavasa and strategist Prashant Kishore, Trinamool Congress leader Abhishek Banerjee, Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav. So they are appeared on this leaked list of potential or actual targets for spying by this Israel company NSO. Okay, so because of this is in news. And if you see some interesting facts or interesting details which are given, so this Pegasus spyware which mainly developed and licensed by Israeli company. So you all know about that company, that is NSO Group. So this Pegasus can be used mainly to infiltrate smartphones which are mainly run by using this iOS, that is Apple phones, and even Android operating systems. And if you are talking about this Pegasus, so it is a method of attack. So it is called as zero-click attacks. Okay, zero-click attacks means it does not require any action by user. This is called as zero-click attacks. So on this zero-click attack, this Pegasus mainly works. And spyware can hack a device simply by giving a missed call or mainly through this WhatsApp call. So whenever you are getting any missed call from this spyware, then it will get access to our mobiles, and it will also alter call logs so that users has no knowledge of what happened in his phone. And it can be installed manually on a device over a wireless transceiver. Also we can install that. And next one is if it fails to connect with its command and control server for more than 60 days, and it will mainly self-destruct. Okay. And next one is if it detects that it was installed on a wrong device or wrong SIM card, then it will go for self-destruction. And if you're talking about need, what can be done mainly to avoid this type of attacks? So if we want to stay safe and as well as if we want to stay very much safe, then we need to ensure that software in devices is updated. Okay, so our software should be updated and we need some antivirus things. And this one is all apps are installed directly through official stores but not through any malwares or malware links. And this one is no suspicious email or text that should be clicked. So these are some precautions that can be taken. And if you're talking about some more interesting thing I bring here is recent steps which is taken by Government of India mainly regarding the cyber security attacks. So first one is government came up with this Cyber Surakshit Bharat initiative, and this initiative launched in year 2018. So what is the aim of this initiative? So aim here it is to spread awareness about cyber crimes, and as well as we need to build capacity for safety measures for chief information security officers and as well as some authorized officers. So this is about this Cyber Surakshit Bharat. So it mainly deals to spread awareness regarding the cyber crimes, and as well as we need to build capacity. Okay, so these are the things which are mainly focused on by this Cyber Surakshit Bharat initiative. And next one is the National Cyber Security Coordination Center, in short NCCC. So it mainly launched in year 2017. And this National Cyber Security Coordination Center, which mainly developed to scan internet traffic and as well as communication metadata. And next important thing here is Cyber Swachhata Kendra. So it's mainly launched in year 2017, and this platform was introduced for internet users mainly to clean their computers and as well as devices, mainly by wiping out viruses and as well as malware. So in this way, this Cyber Surakshita Kendra will be very important. And next one is India's Cyber Crime Coordination, that is I4C, so which made it recently inaugurated by our government. And we are also having this CERT in, that is Computer Emergency Response Team India. So it is a nodal agency, and this agency mainly deals with cyber security threats, for example hacking and as well as phishing. And if you're talking about legislations in India, we are having two important legislations. So first one is Information Technology Act 2000, and next one is Personal Data Protection Bill, which is not yet passed. Okay, so these are two important legislations which mainly talks about the cyber security and as well as it mainly talks about data protection, etc. Okay, so here one editorial which appeared on page number 7 regarding this Pegasus and Information Technology Act 2000. So you can refer that editorial. Okay, so this is about this topic, and now let us move on to next topic. Title says Oxfam report highlights sharp inequality in health indicators. So this article mainly is focusing on inequalities in India. Okay, and you need to focus on what is this Oxfam report also. So this article will be important regarding GS paper to under society. So now let us try to talk about this topic. So if you see context, it mainly says that, so according to Oxfam report, it mainly says there is sharp inequalities exist across different caste, different religions, class and as well as gender categories, mainly in various health indicators. So in various health indicators, this report says that there is sharp inequalities across different caste, different religions, class and as well as gender categories. So now let us try to see key highlights of this Oxfam report. So this report title is India Inequality Report 2021, India's Unequal Healthcare Story. So report title is India's Inequality Report 2021, India's Unequal Healthcare Story. So it is mainly focusing on unequal healthcare. Okay, so if you're talking about some key details, it mainly says that general category, they are mainly better doing than compared to that of SCs and STs, scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. And next one is Hindus are better performing than compared to that of Muslims. So here we can see caste based inequality. And next one is rich or better doing than compared to that of poor. So we can also see economic inequality. And next one is men, they are better performing than women. So here also we can see gender based discrimination. And next one is urban population, they are doing better than compared to that of rural population. So here we can see region based inequality, right? So these findings are mainly based on secondary analysis of rounds of third and as well as fourth National Family Health Survey and as well as various records of a national sample survey. So based on this, so these are some key findings. And if you're talking about some positives, which mainly said women's literacy has improved across social groups over year. Okay, and here this article also mainly says some negatives like, so scheduled caste, national scheduled tribes women, they are lagging behind when we are comparing with the top general category by 18.6% in scheduled caste and 27.9% in scheduled tribes. And if you say this inequality, or mainly we can see gap of 55.5%, which is mainly seen between top and as well as bottom population according to 2015 and 16 data. And female literacy rate among Muslims, it is very much lower. It is 64.3% lower when we are comparing with all religious groups. And next one is about sanitation. So if you are focusing on this sanitation, 65.7% of households, they are having access to improved non-shared sanitation facilities. But if you are comparing with SCs and STs, so in STs it is very much less. It is about 39.8% behind, and STs are behind 28.5%. And if you are talking about institutional deliveries, so there is increased from 38.7% in 2005 to 2006 to 78.9%. So in this way, we can see inequalities are very much persistent regarding this institutional deliveries, and gap between richest and poorest regarding this institutional deliveries, which is 20%. So now let us try to focus on some facts regarding what is this Oxfam International. So it is a group of independent non-government organization, and this organization mainly found in 1995. And name Oxfam mainly comes from Oxford Committee for Famine Relief, which mainly founded in Britain. So which mainly come up in year 1942. So if you're talking about aim of this Oxfam, it is mainly to maximize efficiency and as well as to achieve greater impact to reduce global poverty and injustice. So it is mainly aiming to maximize efficiency and also to achieve greater impact to reduce global poverty and injustice. And if you see secretariat, it is mainly located at Nairobi, Kenya. So this will be very much important from your prelims. So this is just of this topic, and now let us move on to next topic. Title says protecting children is a priority. So if you want to know about background regarding these children, so many parents of these children, they mainly died because of this COVID-19 pandemic. So here children became abandoned and orphaned. So recently we also studied number of reports like NGOs and other organizations. They are inviting people for adopting these children who lost their parents. So this is one important thing. And next one is this article mainly focusing that there is a need to ensure rehabilitation for COVID-19 orphans. So whenever children who lost their parents, so whenever these children also are suffering from this COVID-19, so these children here the government which need to take responsibility to ensure rehabilitation for these children. So recently petition which mainly filed, to that petition central government came up with answer today. So this is about some background of this article. So this article will be important regarding GS paper 2 under society and as well as health point of view. So now let us see context. So if you see context, why it is in news, because Center has informed Delhi High Court that mainly asked states to ensure immediate action for rehabilitation of children orphaned. Okay, here Center mainly said Delhi High Court that so states are asked to ensure immediate action for rehabilitation of children who are orphaned because of this COVID-19 in accordance with the provisions of Juvenile Justice Care and Protection of Children Act. So in this context, Ministry of Women and Child Development mainly said that children in distress situation, they are affected by pandemic, so they are mainly mandated care and protection under this Juvenile Justice Act of 2015. So if you see some important points regarding this Juvenile Justice Act, so this act mainly provides safety and as well as service delivery structures to children, and among with provisions of institutional and as well as non-institutional care and protection of children, they are in need of care and as well as protection of child in conflict with the law here. Okay, so this Juvenile Justice Act mainly focusing on providing safety and as well as safety service delivery for children, and it also having some provisions of institutional and also non-institutional care, and it also deals with protection of children who are in need of care. Okay, so this is the thing which mainly deals with this Juvenile Justice Act. So if you're talking about some important details, so here ministry said that this implementation of this Juvenile Justice Act, which is primary responsibility of state and union territories. So here center mainly directed states to follow this Juvenile Justice Act. So why this decision taken by center? Because children, they have been particularly very much vulnerable to psychosocial and as well as mental health impacts of the pandemic. And need here is we need to provide healthcare and as well as we need to provide some safety and as well as placement for these children. So this is a gist of this topic. And now let us see next topic. Title says rain deficit may hit oil seed farmers. So this article mainly focusing on rain deficit. Okay, and next one is we need to focus on different conditions that is required or suitable for growing of oil seeds. So that will be important from GS paper 1 under geography. And you need to focus on this, what is this rain deficit? So how much amount of rain deficit that we see in this monsoon? So this topic will be important regarding GS paper 1 under geography. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. First, let us see context. So if you see context, it mainly says that according to CRISIL research, monsoon post June 23rd, which mainly resulted in rain deficit. So about 32% of rain deficit that we seen in this monsoon after this June 23. From June 23 to till now, so we are facing rain deficit. Okay, so because of this rain deficit, it mainly likely to push farmers to changing their kharif crop patterns. So here, because of this rain deficit, we can say that mainly pushes farmers to change their kharif crop patterns, and especially in areas like northwestern region and central India. So we can see rain deficit of about 55%. So because of this, farmers from this area, they are mainly forced to move from oil seeds such as soybean and as well as groundnut towards low water requirement crops, for example cotton and as well as maize. So if you see some details which are highlighted in this article, it mainly says that, so we can see there is highest deficit of 55% in northwestern region, especially in areas of Punjab, Haryana. So in Punjab, there is deficit of about 70%. In Haryana, there is deficit of 80%. And if you are talking about central India, about 39% of rain deficit that is seen, and especially state of Gujarat, which is mainly seen continuously dry spell. So because of this, they are going for crop shifting from groundnut towards cotton. As we know, Gujarat is also one of important cotton producing state in India. Okay. So because of this rain deficit in northwestern region as well as central Indian region, so it is mainly having some impact on sowing of these states have high levels of irrigation. So whenever we want to go for this sowing of this oil seeds, we need also irrigation facilities. So if irrigation facilities are not present, then they can go for water less intensive crops like maize and as well as cotton in these areas. Even Karnataka farmers, they also faced about 37% of a deficit during this period, and they are likely to opt for cotton and as well as maize. And if you are talking for requirements which is very much important for growing of oil seeds, so first one is we need to focus on temperature and as well as rainfall. So temperature is about 15 to 30 degrees centigrade of temperature, and rainfall required is 30 to 70 centimeters, and we required good loamy or loamy to clay or well drained sandy soils. Okay, and next one is major oil seeds which are produced in India. They include groundnut, soybean, mustard and cotton seeds, linseed, sunflower, coconut, castor seeds. These are some major oil seeds that mainly grown in India. And oil seeds producing states are Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra and Uttar Pradesh. And if you are talking about types of oil seed crops, so some oil seeds crops mainly comes under kharif crops, some comes under rabi crops. So this thing now we are going to discuss that will be very much important from your prelims point. So if you are talking about types, if you are talking about groundnut, it mainly comes under kharif crop, and castor seeds, they can be grown in both rabi and also kharif crop, and linseed and mustards, they comes under rabi crop, and sesame, it is grown as a kharif crop in northern India, and it will be grown as a rabi crop in southern India. So these are some important things that you need to remember. And now let us move on to next topic. Title says climate change has added over 1,000 lakes in Swiss Alps. So here you need to focus on what is this climate change and what is this Swiss Alps. So regarding the Swiss Alps, you can get a question in your prelims for sure. You can expect a prelims based question from the Swiss Alps. So please open your atlas and see where is the Swiss Alps is located. Okay. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So this topic will be important from environment and ecology point of view, and also from map based questions also this topic will be very important. So if you see context, it mainly says that climate change has dramatically altered Swiss Alp landscape. Okay, because of this climate change, it mainly altered Swiss Alp landscape at a quicker pace than expected. So because of this, that is leading to melting of glaciers. So because of this melting of glaciers, that is mainly leading to increase in more than 1,000 of new lake across these mountains. So because of this climate change, we can see there will be melting of ice because of global warming. So because of this global warming, increased GHG gases, that is greenhouse gas emissions, that is leading to some alterations in our climate, that is leading to climate change. So because of this climate change, there is melting of glaciers that is evident. So there are more than 1,000 new lakes are created across these mountains because of this climate change. So if you see details, it mainly says that the inventory Swiss glacial lakes, it mainly says that 1200 new lakes have formed informally glaciated regions. Okay, so what happened, there is increase in number of lakes which are mainly created in this region, and around 1,000 of them, they are still existent today. So according to recent study which mainly published by Swiss Federal Institute of Aquatic Science and Technology, they mainly says that there are about 1,000 of these lakes are still existent. So if you're talking about data, so glaciers in the Swiss Alps, they are steadily declining. That means we can see glacial rate is happening here. So because of this, it is mainly losing 2% of their volume last year alone. And according to annual study of this Swiss academic science, it mainly says that because of this climate change, so Swiss Alps are losing their volume, about 2% of loss of their volume that had been seen in last year alone. So if you are focusing on some important facts, it mainly says that Alps, they are the highest and most extensive mountain range system which lies entirely in Europe. So where it is located in Europe, and mainly stretches approximately 1200 kilometers across 8 alpine countries. So those includes France, Switzerland, Monaco, Italy, Liechtenstein and Austria, Germany and Slovenia. So these are countries in which we can see this Alps, which is mainly seen. Okay, so this will be important from your prelims point of view. And if you see further more details, it mainly says that mountains, they formed over tens of millions of years. So when they form, because this African plate, whenever it is moving towards Eurasian plate, so whenever it is colliding, that led to this Alp mountains. Okay, so this is just of this topic. And now let us see next topic. Title says Egypt takes center stage in West Asian affairs. So this article may talk about increased role of Egypt in West Asian affairs. So if you see here Africa, so here we can see Egypt which is present, that is in northeastern Africa. We can see this Egypt is located. So I want to give you one homework, students. So please open your map and see which are the countries are sharing boundary with Egypt. Okay. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So this topic will be important from GS paper 2 point of view, which mainly comes under international relations. So if you see context or if you see background, so recently West Asia, okay, so in West Asian issues, there is increase in Egyptian fingerprint. So recently what happened, 11-day Israel-Palestine conflict that happened. So in this conflict, Egyptian diplomats and as well as intelligence officers, they recently negotiated. And next one is in 2013, Turkey, which has been hostile to Egyptian president. So when he overthrew Muslim Brotherhood government in Cairo, so he was mainly hostile to Egyptian president. Turkey, in which has been hostile to Egyptian president. So after long years, what happened? Now here Egypt is becoming very active and is also re-engaging with its neighbors in Africa. It is coming up with number of economic and as well as defense partnership agreements with neighboring countries. And recently it came with this new tripartite grouping, so that is called as New Levant. This New Levant includes Egypt, Iran and as well as Jordan here. Okay, and next one is if you are talking about political and economical changes in Egypt, so there is overthrow of country's first democratically elected government, and Egypt mainly survived with a 12 billion aid package. So this aid package mainly come up from countries like Saudi Arabia, Kuwait and as well as UAE. And here Saudi Arabia also provided some supplementary grants for import of petroleum products to Egypt also. And next one is here if you're talking about this West Asian politics, So these West Asian politics are largely influenced by active role which is mainly taken by Saudi Arabia, UAE, Syria, Libya and Yemen. So in 2017, Egypt's roles in this blockade of Qatar, which mainly initiated by Saudi Arabia and UAE, and here Egypt mainly allowed Qatari LNG to pass through its Suez Canal. Okay, so here this article mainly says that there is good management of its economy all through different times or difficult times here. So because of this, here Egypt came with this economic reforms from 2005, and finally it provided foreign exchange reserves of $40 billion in 2018 here. And next one is, because of this economic reforms, we can also see some growth of about 5.6% in financial year 2019. And if you're talking about challenges which are facing by Egypt, so there are two important challenges which are mainly discussed in this topic. First one is Ethiopia plans. So Ethiopia, which is mainly planning to come up with construction of this Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam here. So this dam mainly conducted over river, that is Blue Nile. So this is one of important cause of concern for Egypt, because so whenever any dam which is constructed here, okay, whenever we are constructing any dam here in this Ethiopia, so it will affect freshwater flow in this Nile river. So this is one cause of concern, okay, not only for Egypt but also other countries which are also sharing some basin of this river. For example, Ethiopia, Sudan, Uganda, Rwanda and as well as Kenya. Okay, so here mainly to address this or mainly to safeguard these issues, here Egypt wrote to United Nations Security Council mainly for seeking intervention on dam issue. And next one is challenge with Turkey. So recently two countries they met with the foreign ministry level in Cairo, and here they talked about issues regarding Libya and as well as East Mediterranean Sea. So this is just of this topic. I hope it is clear. Now let us see next topic. Before seeing next topic, I want to make a small announcement on this platform. If you want to clear UPSC 2022, we came up with one excellent, highly beneficial and as well as highly economical course, that is current affairs package along with the mains answer writing practice. So how this course will be useful? So one thing you need to remember here is, before entering into examination hall, you need to know at least 1.5 year current affairs. And this is right time to join this course to cover this 1.5 years current affairs in a comprehensive manner. And why you need to focus on this current affairs? Because in prelims, in mains and even in interview, you can get questions from this current affairs. Okay, to answer those questions, mastering of current affairs is very, very important. And next one is mains answer writing practice. So here why we need to focus on this mains answer writing practice? So many students who are especially freshers or beginners, they ignore this mains answer writing practice. So because of this, even though if you clear prelims, you cannot clear mains without this answer writing skills. And in this course, we are mainly focusing on how to improve your answer writing skills. And next one is, if you join this course, we also conduct prelims test on every Sunday and we provide you video explanation part. So in this way, this course which is designed as per demand of UPSC. So finally, I want to say one thing. Please don't take this course as a choice. Try to join this course as soon as possible and achieve your dream of clearing UPSC. So details of this course which is given in description box. So please visit that once. And if you want to talk to me directly, you can call to this number 8074765513. Okay. Now let's come back and let us see next topic. Title says crisis ahead, from learning loss to resumption. So this article mainly focusing on learning loss. So here this article mainly focusing on how we are facing learning loss and what are the concerns in online education. And this article mainly focusing on international experience and even what is the international case studies are mainly doing and what can be adopted. Okay, so this article will be important from education point of view, which mainly comes under GS paper 2. So if you see background, we all know due to COVID-19 pandemic, schools have been shut down since March 2020 onwards. So it has been 16 long months there is shutdown of schools. So because of closure of schools, there is loss of nutrition. And you can ask me like how closure of schools related to loss of nutrition, right? So many government schools are going with this midday meals program. So they are providing cooked meals. Okay. So because of this, there is also loss of nutrition for children. And schooling, which is very much important, but this schooling it is also lost for children. So here there is an urgent need, it is to reopen schools. So to reopen schools, so there are many challenges. We need to vaccinate teachers, we need to vaccinate children. So as of now, clinical trials regarding this vaccination for children which is not yet done. So we can't take that risk. So here 16 months from now, education disruptions that we are experiencing, and now there is even no clarity regarding when we are going to open or reopen our schools. So country mainly it is moving towards online classes and as well as e-connectivity, right? So we are in this e-connectivity or online classes, we are mainly focusing on secondary and as well as higher education, but we are not bothering about this primary school education, right? So if you're talking about concerns, there is lack of connectivity for students, and as well as there is lack of access to electronic devices, for example tablets, laptops, mobile phones, right? So even children from government schools are most disadvantaged. They are not going for even online education because of lack of computers. Recently we studied one report, and what happened, the percentage of teachers in our country who are capable of handling these digital platforms are also very small. So because of all these things, many group of children are mainly losing their education. So if you're talking about case studies, so even Netherlands, it is having a short lockdown period, and it is also providing equitable school funding and excellent broadband access also. But researchers, they found that 8 to 11 years of old students, they made little or no progress in their education, and we can see this learning loss. It is the most pronounced among the students who are coming from this socially disadvantaged or economically disadvantaged homes. And next one is a large multiple state study which mainly done by US, which mainly says that some students, they are also leaving public school system. And according to study by Ajim Premji Foundation in January 2021, it mainly covering more than 16,000 children and who are between age group of 6 to 11 years of age across 5 states. So this study mainly said that 92% of children, they have lost at least one specific language ability from previous year across all classes. So this is a great cause of concern now. And what can be the steps taken? And now let us see international case studies. So Philippines mainly allowing extended time for classes on resumption both in duration of school hours and more calendar days of interaction. So they are going to increase the classes time. Okay, so even in holidays they are going to have classes and they will be extended time of school hours. And next one is here state of Ontario mainly came up with one thing, like they are mainly focusing on to reduce curriculum such that students are able to focus on few subjects and learn more well. And UK and as well as Ghana also announced that one-to-one tutoring. Okay, and even Italy, students from university, they are voluntarily conducting one-to-one classes mainly for middle school children who are from poor immigrant backgrounds. And we need to go for accelerated education programs or bridge courses. So these are the some things we can learn from other countries. So this is just of this topic. And there are another two editorials which are important from page number 6 and 7. So already we discussed about this Kanwar Yatra. There is a small editorial which appeared on page number 6. You can easily refer that article because we extensively discussed about that topic from last 4 days. And this one is Pegasus and IT Act 2000. So this appeared in page number 7. You can easily refer that topic. Okay. So these are some important articles which appear in today's Hindu newspaper. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. And don't forget to enroll to this current affairs package. Thank you so much.